Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tree Actions, the Human Forestry Podcast. With me, as always, my trusty counterpart, Tony Trestle. How you doing, Tony?
Good afternoon / morning or whatever time it is for you. Good day. How about that?
Yeah. I like your microphone. I think it makes your voice sound better than mine.
That's because this is my podcaster
Right.
voice,
Oh,
my
yeah.
announcer voice.
Your Howard Stern voice. And joining us all the way from the Yukon territory in Whitehorse is Rachel. Is it DesJardins?
DesJardins, yeah.
DesJardins, Rachel. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Hello. Happy to be here.
So, has the weather stayed a little chilly or snowy, or what's it happening up there?
It's been the same. It's been snowing, and it was minus 24 today when I got in my car. So it's still cold and snowing and cold.
It's cold.
That's not too bad because I think last week, that one day, it was below minus 30 there.
Yeah, it was definitely colder when you guys were here, but still hanging on, for sure.
I'm thinking once you get below minus 20, it's just academic. It's just damn cold.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
cold.
Yeah.
I think there's another shift that occurs once you cross minus 40. And even when you hit
right.
minus 50, like things get a little tighter and more brittle. Things that normally aren't brittle are very brittle, and things crack. And there's a difference at 45 below or minus 50 something. If you're lucky enough to experience that, like motors really don't like to start anymore and things like that. But it's fun. So, well, without any further ado, I think, like with all our guests, we get into our first question, and I'm looking forward to our podcast today. So, Rachel, if you would tell our guests the first memory you have of feeling a connection to a tree or trees.
So my, I guess I can think of a couple, but there's a specific tree actually. I kind of hold dear to my heart, I guess I could say. But um, when I was littler than I am now, I don't know how old I was. uh, I was in grade, I was in grade 5 when we left this property. So when I think in grade 3, my family and I moved to a different neighborhood in Terrace, BC, and it was called Jack Pine Flats, and it's kind of about 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of town. And we had just like a little bit of property. It's like, I guess, like 2.5 acres, but out there was still like developing property, so there was still like a whole lot of wilderness to explore. And then, but as I was kind of playing around in the yard, I don't know, I came across this tree and it was perfect for climbing. So I was obsessed with climbing trees back then. So I'd climb this one, and that was like the funnest one to climb, I guess. So I just kind of got attached to it. So every day almost I would go out there and climb this tree. And I have this memory too of climbing to the very top. I remember it like till it got like really thin. I don't know how big it was. I was small, so it was huge, I guess, but it's probably
Yeah.
smaller now if I went to go look at it. But I know it was tall enough where I could go. We were in the middle of this long street. It was tall enough where I could climb up to the top and watch horses in like the pasture at the very beginning of the street. So I just sit up there and look at
Yeah.
horses all day. But I remember going up one day, like my grandma was babysitting me and climbing. It got really thin and like kind of waving around, holding onto the tree and waving around in the wind and like saying hi to my grandma, and my grandma just freaking out. Like she was like this big in the driveway yelling at me to come down. I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm here.
Wow.
But I think as we were talking about earlier too, I think it was a hemlock. I remember it not poking me,
Right.
hurting me too much. And I guess too, I would climb up there with like food, snacks, and like hang out there all day. And I made like a rope swing up there and hung out in a rope swing. And I don't know. Yeah, I just lived up there practically.
Wow. And yeah, it's always interesting when we have guests that talk about a childhood experience like that, and then they try to remember the size, right? And it's so different. It it's such a nebulous thing at a certain, especially when you're younger, right? Like it's just big,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And you might in actuality have been 20 feet or it might have been 50 feet, but you don't really have a place to measure that at a young age. It's just tall and cool.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about this last night too, and I have to go back to Terrace in May, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna knock on the door and see if I can go see the tree again, and then I'll get back to you about how tall it is.
Yeah, that would be good. Well, obviously it'll have grown, right? But you should be able to do some chronological
Yeah,
analysis.
yeah, for sure.
Um, it's fascinating to me about how many people, and I don't think it's just the guests we pick to talk to. I think it's so common for people to be, as youth, drawn to the woods or parks or like non-developed places, and
Hmm.
then often trees as well. It's
Hmm.
quite interesting. And the other thing that I found interesting is that you mentioned is that you bring food and you made
Hmm.
a swing, like you make it a place,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, it absolutely was. Yeah, and I remember the boughs would come down too and kind of be a little fort. The boughs come down to the ground, so it
Yeah.
was kind of like a perfect little hideout for me.
Oh,
I just
wow.
love it.
So wow. So you could even tuck underneath it like that.
Yeah,
Well, then it had to have been fairly mature, wouldn't it? It probably was fairly tall then.
I like to think so. I have to get back. I gotta go look. I'm so curious now. I gotta go check it out. I
Well, then,
left when I was grade 5, so and I'm 34 now, so that'd be a long time. It'd be nice to see an old friend.
would have grown quite a bit. Yeah, but it'd
Yeah.
be cool. And you might be able to dig up an old picture or something. Maybe get to see a glimpse of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we were talking before, and I got the idea to have you as a guest, you mentioned a piece of bark that you had, and then you actually went and got it. And
Yeah.
I was curious about, and you started telling me that story, but I thought that was also an interesting thing which obviously is a connection to a tree that you carry.
Yeah. I, I yeah, I don't know why. Definitely been like one of my favorite memories. Like I still think about it all the time. Like it's this tree, but yeah, when my we had to leave that property, my parents split up, so we moved away and we went all over Terrace then. But I remember thinking, I remember thinking I would miss that tree in that spot, so I went out. I think the day we moved and took this piece of bark, and
Oh,
so I've had it since. I had it stored away. I didn't see it for a long time. I thought I lost it, and then when I moved up to the Yukon, actually, I found it in my things, and then it's been in my car visor ever since. So now I would like.
wow. Oh, so I didn't realize it was actually from that actual tree.
No, yeah, it is from that tree the day we left.
Wow. So you took a piece of the tree with you.
Yep, this is the tree.
Holy moly, that's really cool. And I know this is an audio only podcast, but Rachel's showing us the piece of bark that she has. And I think you're right, Tony. I think it is a hemlock. Here we are. I'm supposed to be a tree guy, and I should be able to identify stuff by bark, but it's a little out of my geographical range. That's my
It's
excuse.
not only that, like I don't expect my doctor to diagnose all my problems via teleconference either. So it's all right.
Oh, so
We
Tony's
got
saying
pretty
if he could
close.
actually look at it and touch it, he'd know, is what he's saying.
I'd probably be closer than I
Yeah,
would, but I think it's a piece of. I think it's Western
yeah,
hemlock.
yeah,
I looked it up. It would be Sunga hetero. Oh, I just had it in front of me. Heterophylla.
yeah, yeah,
Sunga is a Western hemlock.
yeah.
Large, graceful, evergreen conifer native to the Pacific Northwest.
Yep, sounds
Yeah, and
checks
that's
out.
pretty. Terrace would qualify. Is it? Does it? Do they consider that in the Pacific Northwest, or does
Yeah,
it? Is
absolutely.
it considered in? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's about
Yes.
an hour and 15 away from Prince Rupert and on the coast.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're definitely in the thick of it there.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool that you have. That when I don't know how I missed that when you were showing it to me. I didn't connect that it was the same tree. Uh, but that's awesome, and it makes me think of the black elk. Of some of the stuff they talk about with is it the Lakota or Dakotas, where when they were sent to the reservation, they took pieces of the tree,
Oh wow.
poplar in particular, with them, because it was a
Right.
sacred thing to the First Nations, right? And they had basically like a staff, right? That was a tree branch that went, and they whenever they would go anywhere and travel, this came with them because it was from the confluence of the cottonwoods along the river.
Oh, amazing.
And I'm sure I'm butchering the story for those people that know their history better than I do. And but I'm not completely off track with that. But they were displaced or had to leave, and they took branches with them and parts of the tree.
Wow,
So kind of what you did.
that's really cool. I didn't even know that. I'm gonna look that up
Yeah, you'll
now.
have to look it up to get the actual more solid version. Mine is worse than Wikipedia's version would be. But I know about it because there's Black Elk's vision, and he shows there's the four horsemen and the horse in the middle. I wish I could remember it better, but you'd be able to Google it and look it up. I'll,
Oh,
I'll
no,
I'll send you a link about it.
I
Hey,
actually have a book at home. It's like it's in my pile of books to read. I picked up, I think it's called Black Elk Speaks,
yeah,
and I have that book at home. It's actually, yeah, in the pile of books for me to get to start reading. But I must be in there. I'll check out the
I
book.
bet it is in there. I bet you absolutely it is in there.
Yeah.
And the reason I learned about it was we had a friend of mine that who's actually been on the show. His name's Jack Phillips, and he used to teach religious philosophy at Omaha, Nebraska University in Omaha. Anyway, so that was one of the things he would talk about as part of religious studies and anthropology was the history of people and specifically in the religions and belief systems. And he shared, he would talk about how trees in every well, whether you want to call it religions or spirituality of people, trees play a role in almost every single one. There's a connection to trees. Like you could have the cross in Christianity, and they talk of the tree of life. You have Buddha born out of his mother's armpit, and she's holding on to the tree of life when that happens, right?
Oh, wow.
There's so many analogies and connections with trees and our spiritualism as well.
Mhm.
So it was a fascinating thing to learn about because that's how he got interested in trees and ended up becoming a consulting arborist.
Oh, so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. So Terrace, and have you been like? Did you go from Terrace straight to the Yukon?
No, I grew up in Terrace, and then when I finished college in 2013, I moved to Prince Rupert and lived on the ocean for a little bit. I was there for about 8 years,
Okay.
and then moved up here after 8 years in Rupert.
So have you always kind of kept a connection with trees or tied to trees in some way?
I think so. I think it's funny because I talked to my husband about this lots. He's he's not like I think I romanticize a lot of things, and especially especially when I go to the trap line. Like we live on the trap line usually every winter, like totally off grid. We're there for 3 or 4 months, we trap in the time. But then even out there, I'm like, oh, this is my favorite tree on this line, and there's like a little patch of like big trees, like big poplars, and stuff. And up here, like it's hard to get like big trees up in the Yukon, especially we're a
Yeah.
little more new. And but so we come like a little through a patch of bigger trees, and I'm like, oh, like this is my favorite patch of trees, the biggest poplars I've ever seen in the Yukon. And then like I don't know, like I don't know, maybe it's weird, but I romanticize things in like in a sense too. Like when I found those trees, it was just after my grandpa passed away. So like I find like
Mm.
this big trees, I'm like, this is grandpa's tree. And then there was like another bigger tree too beside it, but like a little bit smaller, and like that's my uncle, and then
Wow.
and then and then my grandma just passed away as well. And out there too, there's a like another bigger tree right by the lake, and I was like, well, this is grandma's tree. So like so every time I go by these trees on the sled, I go by there every couple days to check the line. And I say like, oh, hi grandpa and hi grandma. I don't know, like I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but I romanticize things in that sense, especially with trees. And I don't know. I don't know, outdoor things. And I don't know, just in the woods. I grew up in the woods, and I like to stay in the woods, I guess. And
Yeah,
that's how
yeah. Well, and you've pretty much done that with your career, right? Is you're pretty woodsy.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, I got out of the woods for a little bit, and then I somehow fell back into it for sure.
You know, I like I think that it's really endearing and it's pretty cool. I'm sure many of our listeners have done the same and think about that as well. But giving a tree, it's funny how you end up if you're a tree person. I guess maybe I don't know if you have to be a tree person to do this, but you find a tree that you connect with somehow or you like, right? That you or and then you might even associate it with a person, which is really cool that you've done that, and it gives you that touchstone. Do you think that that was something that you just like an old soul that you have excuse me that you have that in you, or do you think that that was mentored to you somehow or that you saw that in family?
I honestly think a little bit of both. I've kind of grown up and people tell me all the time that I'm an old soul.
Okay.
And it's like with I don't know, everything I've ever been interested in. It's like old airplanes and old cars and old music and old everything and old trap lines and everything. And I think just how I was raised too. I think my dad is a lot like that. And but I think it the romanticizing trees, I think what I said, I think that comes a lot from my grandma and a lot of like my first memories um and around the time where I befriended this tree when I was a kid, I would walk with my grandma at a place called Fairy Island in Terrace. And it's just an
Okay.
island, it's skiing a river and it's got trails around it and things like that. But we'd walk around there like every time I was with her. And she would tell me things about trees. So and she's Cree, right? Cree and Iroquois.
Uh-huh.
So she would tell me about like the birch tree and she would tell me about the cedar tree and how we would use it and how you can collect the bark and how much to collect and when to collect. And I think that kind of started that early on. Um, being
Wow.
interested in
What was your favorite if you can remember one, do you remember one of your favorite lessons or stories that grandma gave you about birch or cedar or any tree?
I don't remember any specific. I think maybe it's just like talking about the birch tree and how like our people would make birch bark canoes. Like the birch was the most like the cedar is the most important to like to the people of like around Terrace in this area, but like where we're from, it's the birch tree and
Right,
um.
right. Well, you know, and that it just reinforces that whole concept, like that. I think I don't know if it's humanity or civilization or which or both, but like trees and people have a deep connection that goes way back, like from shelter, warmth, transport, travel. Like you think of like a ship, a galleon that how was a major form of travel, but birch bark canoes are also a tree form of travel, right? Like
Mhm,
just on a different scale, but nonetheless, you can't take a
mhm,
galleon up a river, right?
mhm.
And then heat, shelter, food, all that stuff. And the cedar they would make like ropes
Yeah.
and like the Pacific Northwest First Nations would had nets and all kinds of stuff that they use cedar bark
So
for.
many beautiful things like hats and boxes. I've been like in elementary school. I remember we would make cedar bark for Mother's Day. We were taught how to make cedar bark roses, and
Really?
yeah, and yeah, we do all sorts of stuff.
Well, I've never seen one of those. That'd be kind of cool. How do you do that?
I
Well,
just
you
get
just
strips, and then you just end up
yeah.
kind of like you kind of work it a bit to make it softer, and then you just kind of you just. I mean, it's been forever since I've done it, but you kind of just fold it and kind of wrap it up, and it end up coming like into like a little rose.
Really?
So like yeah, we make little mini cedar bark rose bouquets for moms for Mother's Day. Just
Wow.
yeah.
Man, I've never seen that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, I'm curious about your trap line.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a I guess it almost have to, I don't know it would like it's not a common thing, right? Like it's a less common thing these days, but it's
I think so.
still a thing, right? And I know that there's it's a pretty micro industry.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not common. I've heard of trap lines and terrace growing up. I think I knew one. My dad worked with a guy and Ken, and he was awesome. He passed away when I was really young though, but I remember his house being full of animals he's trapped and stuff. But that was like the only kind of introduction I've really had with trapping. I didn't really think it was a thing until I moved up here and I kind of just fell into that too. I remember I moved up here with a little bit of a payout, and I was like, well, I don't want to buy a house just yet in town. And like, I don't know, the market was crazy. And then I thought for some reason it would be a good idea to just dump all that money in a trap line and buy a cabin in the middle of nowhere, which is like it also remote and fly in only. So I had to also buy an airplane, and my husband flies, so we fly into our trap line and live out there all winter.
Wow. So how much time do you spend on the trap line?
Uh, usually, usually we're there right now. We had a crazy summer with fires. He flies helicopters, so he was on fires all last summer as well. And
Yeah, yeah,
so we had just a crazy summer. We're both busy. We're both tired. We didn't really get to plan anything to go out there this winter, so we took this winter off. And we thought it'd be good to give the trap line a little break too, as well, just trapping
yeah,
animals and stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but usually we'll head out as soon as the lake freezes. The airplane's on skis, so as soon as the lake is frozen enough for us to land on, we'll head out.
yeah,
It's usually like late November, early December,
yeah.
and then we'll come out in late February, March, and we're out there every
And so
day
how
until
far
it.
of a flight from Whitehorse we talking here?
We fly out of Watson Lake, so we drive all
Oh,
of our stuff to Watson, and
yeah.
then it's about a 45-minute flight northeast of Watson. It's actually it's really funny. It's on a lake called Jack Pine Lake. So every time I
Oh,
go out
wow.
there, I think about Jack Pine Flats because Jack Pine Flats is where I lived in Terrace, is where I found this tree. But yeah, so now I live on Jack Pine Lake in the winter.
Interesting. Wow. That seems awful coincidental or
So that's
something.
yeah.
Yeah. And so you have a cabin you said there because a lot of the trap lines I know the guys will have like the real small little basically it's big enough to sleep in and that's it and there's a couple coffins along the trail, right? And that's it. Is
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you actually have a
No,
dwelling.
we do. Yeah, we're really, really lucky. There's a really nice cabin out there. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's almost like having like a little mini house. It's not huge, but it's bigger than other trapline cabins I've seen.
Yeah.
But it was built by a husband and wife. I think they were out there until early 2000s, but they lived out there full time, a Yukon couple, and they built this cabin to live in. And so you can tell
Okay.
this of a woman's touch. There's actually like a nice little kitchen in there and like all the baking things you need and a nice oven and stove and yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's
that
really
sounds pretty cool. You got to be careful. Don't tell anybody where it is.
Oh yeah, so I guess I did already, but
Yeah,
but
well, not really. It'd be pretty tough to find, I think, but that's pretty cool. So, how did you mentioned wildfire, and we haven't talked about that yet. But how did you gravitate your career into wildland firefighting?
I got into Wildfire because of the trap line. So I was working in HR at Aaron here in town. And that's where I was when I decided to buy the trap line. And I was like, well, if I do this, I have to kind of figure out something to be able to, go out there and do this for real if I'm going to spend all this money on it. And then I was thinking about seasonal jobs. I was looking around for, I don't know, summers at the museums or something, summers in tourism. And then I actually, yeah, I think I saw the Beat the Heat, the Yukon
Yeah,
First Nations Wildfire, their Beat the Heat program.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, well, fires is seasonal. That works just great. So that's just kind of, and then now I'm here. That just kind of worked out.
yeah. And your fourth, fifth season with wildland fire,
Fourth.
fourth season, yeah. And prior to that, you didn't have much use with the chainsaws and trees and all that sort of stuff. Was like as far as like fighting fire, that was a new foray 4 years ago.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, my mom was a volunteer firefighter structurally, in Thornhill and Terrace, and
Okay.
so fire wasn't like too foreign. I guess wildland fire, I guess, was foreign to me. But then my chainsaw experience too. My dad, I would just help my dad out in the yard. Like wasn't anything super serious, and but I can say my dad was a pretty good teacher. It's like you're absolutely not drop starting this thing. Like absolutely you're not, and no, you're not doing that. Like, and this is how you do it properly, and like this is how you sharpen it. And I remember doing it once, like sharpening once. And he's like, okay, no, no, I'll do it. Just watch some more, and yeah. So he was a pretty good teacher.
Awesome. Tony, I'm curious. It just makes me think of you. You must have spent time with Maggie, showing her. Like, have you? I mean, I didn't very. Tony's got a daughter, so I'm just. It just made me think of like, have you done tree stuff together a little bit here and there?
When she was younger, we would climb, very similar to what Rachel was saying. Like I used to set a little system up for her, and then I would pull her up in the tree. Eventually, she'd pull herself up, but she had a little harness and a little helmet, and she'd get up about. We have a silver maple tree in the backyard, and she'd get up there about 40 feet or so, and then I'd tie on some snacks, and she'd pull them up. She'd hang out there
No
for a long time.
way, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. And then there were a couple times where, she'd see a nest or something, and she'd say, "What do you?" She'd go, "Dad, what do you think's in that nest?" And I said, "Oh, I must go up and look." So we'd go up and look. But I never, she never had any interest in running chainsaws or doing anything like that, and nor in the arboricultural field, which is fine. She can go get a real job. uh, but no, I do. It was, she was. It was always kind of fun. Because we could, instead of just looking the nest up on Wikipedia, we just climbed up and saw what eggs were in there and then
Absolutely.
identified it from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. I know. I remember you saying that's pretty cool. Like to. I don't know. Let's go have a look. That's a cool thing to say. Wonder when someone asks what's in the nest. It's like, well, let's get up there. I remember my sons one spring stole magpies out of the nest in front of our house and decided they were going to be pets, and like stole like these two and they had one each, and it didn't work out well. Made him
Mm.
put them back. I think it worked. I think they took them back too and everything. But baby magpies are very annoying and stinky and stinky.
Oh yeah, sure.
And it's funny, Rachel, you're not weird for ascribing trees to people. I do the same thing, although a different route. Like being an arborist, all my professional career, I'll often see a tree and then I'll remember what was happening in life when I was working on that tree. And sometimes it's significant events, like as my buddies had children and would call me and say, "Hey, my son's just been born." I can remember the tree I was working on, and then I go back and I see that tree, and I'm like, it just brings those memories back. And even sometimes, like we heat with wood here mostly, and like every piece of wood in my firewood pile has a bit of a story because like sometimes it's trees that I'd worked on for decades, and then just time. Nothing lasts forever. It was time for them to go, and now they're processed and they're heating my home. So
Yeah,
it's I do the same thing, just a little bit of a different route to get there.
that's awesome. It's kind of similar to my dad in a sense too. My dad worked at the hospital in Terrace for I don't even know forever, but he retired, and when he retired, he got contracted on to kind of help build a new one in the same kind of spot, but there was woods out there, and then so he um I think he ended up getting a couple trees that they had to take down from the property to build the new hospital, but that was like significant to him. So he had these, and like that was the same idea. So he had firewood from the hospital, and now it's heating the home. And but yeah,
I don't know why, but I'm gonna I'm a little I'm really curious. I guess would be the correct way to put this, like how it is that you would decide to invest in a cabin in the middle of nowhere in a trap line and an airplane. Like it's not conventional, and I think it's really cool. But how did you get to that decision? If you don't mind, if it's not too personal, but it's an amazing, really cool story, and you
yeah.
did it. Like you actually did it. It's just wild.
I'm still trying to figure that out myself. If I'm being honest, maybe just a bit of a crisis or something. I don't know. I think I was I think I was 30 when I bought it, so maybe it was a bit of a midlife. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe it was like living in Jack Pine when I was a kid in that tree. When we lived out there, it was in a log house, and then this cabin is like a little mini log house version of that. And I was like, that's for
Yeah.
me. And it's Jack Pine Lake, and it's like way too similar. So it just makes
Okay, so that
sense.
all played into it. You like the all these things like when you're looking at it and it comes up and you see the house and you see pictures and the listing and where it is and it's like, oh, these all these things tugged at your heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think just the idea, I probably romanticizing the frontier or something. Like I was like, yeah, I can live in the woods off grid and trap. That makes sense to me. And I think too, like going back to like Cree roots, and like a lot of like I read history, like my family history, and he's a trapper from like a Mohawk from the East Coast. He trapped his way to Alberta and he stayed, and so I kind of maybe was like I don't know, romanticize that as well. Yeah, I just kind of like, well, it's kind of like in my blood. Maybe I should give it a shot for a little bit to say I did it.
And that was your grandpa?
No, that was like a relative, like kind of how my family came to be. So
Okay,
um
okay.
um
But a relative.
Michelle Calahoo is the band. So Calahoo is my mom's maiden name. But his father from was a Mohawk man. He came and
Okay.
trapped his way.
Interesting. So, what have you got for critters on your line? Like, what's your quarry?
It's mostly martin. Martin is our bread and butter out there. Um, we're kind of like up on a plateau, so there isn't too many links that pass through, but there's lots of wolverine. We get wolverine and lots of wolves pass by, but they're too crafty for us right now. So we always kind of seem to miss them. They pass by us, and then we put out the traps, but they're long gone by the time we get
Yeah,
out there and
yeah.
sit up for them.
My my son's a fish and wildlife officer, and he has to sometimes trap wolves for because they're eating animals on
Yep.
ranchers' land and stuff. And he said it's the most difficult to trap. They're very wary and like
Oh yeah.
it's a like they basically have a couple specialists and people they work with, and he hasn't quite learned how to do it himself yet on his own because
Yep.
they can sniff out and sense and feel, and they're
Oh,
incredibly difficult to get.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They're incredibly smart. And then out there, I don't think they know where we're like in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if they're like familiar with like snares and traps and things, but they do become like trap smart, right? They've seen it before and they'll avoid it.
So the market, how did you do that? You take it, you fly it into to town, and it gets the like there's like Hudson's Bay went out of business. So who's
Yeah.
is there?
We kind of we skin everything out there and we kind of get it all prepped and ready to fly out, and we fly out with our fur bags, and we uh we kind of do a little bit of everything. We send everything to auction. Where is it? Fur harvesters, and I forgot the name. It's on my toque out there somewhere, but in Ontario. And so some of it goes to auction, and then we sell some of it to friends for crafting, and then we save some for like craft fairs here in the Yukon, and we kind of just or we give some away, or if it's like a first animal we've caught, or if we really like that martin, we get attached to it and we keep it, and it's in our house, and yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
We
Yeah,
don't
it's
make any money. It's
so
we lose.
what is the primary use of the fur these days?
Our lynx we made some pretty nice moccasins out of. They're pretty great. Up here in the Yukon, there's still quite a bit of um used for like everyone wears fur up here. It's the warmest. It's the best thing to wear up here, and
Yeah,
especially in the winters, as you've experienced. It's cold as hell, but
yeah,
fur is
yeah.
the best thing to keep you warm, and it's I don't know. It's not. I like to think it's not like plastic stuff that gets thrown away every couple of years. Like, you have a fur jacket and you keep it forever and it's generational. You pass it down and it's not going in a landfill somewhere. And then you know, you, there's a pretty big level of respect to that to an animal that you've taken its life for. And then you don't just, take that for granted, right? It's a lot of work. It's work to get, but not only is it a lot of work, it's like a life.
I do know, and I think that that's when it comes to hunting or trapping and all of this sort of thing, that there's a major disconnect that a lot of people have from that world and that and the fact is it's our roots. Like you
Totally.
know we weren't always able to go to some place and get whatever we needed, whether it be to eat or to wear. And when your apparel becomes literally a matter of life and death,
Hmm.
trees and animals become a resource to say the least, right? Like, because you aren't going to survive on lentils in the north, right? Like, or in any temperate climate, like where you've got winter. Right? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what call it what it is. Like you're going to need some sustenance, right? And that's got to come from something. And what I find fascinating too is how much can be utilized. And that even that to some degree has been lost. Like how much of the animal is used for various things, not just clothing, but all kinds of stuff, right from the bones to the organs to the everything, and how it's in some places been, I don't know what the word is, vilified or made out like it's some sort of cruelty thing, and if anyone was to take the time and meet the people and spend time in these places, you'd see nothing but respect and a great amount of reverence and sacredness to the whole process.
absolutely, for sure. I think, yeah, I think everybody who's doing, and this personal opinion too, though, but I think everybody that's doing stuff like that, you need to have that mindset. Like if you don't have that mindset, you shouldn't be doing it. But I feel like a lot of outfitters and hunters might come after me for that. But I think everybody does in their own way have like everyone does have a like a level of respect for what they do. But I think maybe I'm extreme to like romanticizing things.
Well,
But yeah,
I find myself in a bit of a juxtaposition on this one because as a hunter, I eat what I hunt. I
yeah,
don't just hunt to hunt, right? And here I have a badger behind me, right? And I don't eat badgers, but
hmm
it was a roadkill, and all the mounts that I have in my house that are non-edible were something I found, that wasn't damaged too badly that I could, I like, I'm trying to make a collection of all the animals that are indigenous around us here,
nice.
so that, you know, just that's what lives around me, right? And
hmm
but not by killing it, by finding it. Unfortunately, most of them are roadkill. But we do eat, like our freezer doesn't have any processed animals in it. Like it's not, it's all natural meat from
That's the
the
West. That's the way to
wilderness, right?
be. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the way to
and
be.
I think
Just
it's
like us.
better. Yeah, man, that is just, and what a cool thing. Like it's just more and more, being spending months in a place with no internet, no nothing, no power. I guess even got a generator probably,
Yeah, we got a couple generators and a couple solar panels too. They work pretty good.
but you're in a pretty minority. Like when you think about it in the civilization of things, like I guess you could have Starlink now if you wanted it, huh?
We do have Starlink. It's funny though because when we got the trap line, we're like absolutely no internet. When we go out there, we're off grid. That's how it's gonna be. Like, and we're like, hell yeah, that's how we're gonna live. And then it took one really scary flight home to be like, maybe we should get internet to check the weather at least when we leave, so we can maybe make better decisions. But yeah, we
Right.
had a pretty really bumpy flight home one day, and yeah, we were like, yeah, we're not doing that again. So we have internet check the weather and check in with the family and stuff like that. But
So at that time when you're out there, you got pretty long evenings. Like nights are long.
oh yeah, it's in the middle of winter. Yeah, it's freaking dark all day. Yeah, I was gonna say you can really feel the day. You really feel like the day. What's it like? The equinox or the solstice? Like when the days start getting longer by a couple minutes, you actually feel that out there. Like when you're in the middle of nowhere all winter long, and the days get like slightly longer by like 5 minutes, you feel that for sure. And I think I don't know, maybe I romanticize things again, but like when I go on the line and like it's an extra couple minutes of sunlight, you can see that like the tamaracks like glow and like the willows and the poplars get like a little more color and they kind of everything just kind of glows a little bit more. You can
Yeah.
tell spring's coming.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what would be like the equinox is tomorrow, or no, Friday is the spring equinox. Is
Oh
when the
yeah.
day it's the day length, night and day are the same length of time on the 20th. And then the
hmm
day lengths start getting longer. So the way you'd
hmm
really is when you start to notice the shift. And then you'd be there in the winter solstice, I guess, when it's that happens, right?
Yep. And
But
the shortest day.
so do you would I guess you'd have to focus your activity on the line in the daytime hours as much as possible, or did you just do it whatever, use light of the sled or whatever?
We don't try to go out when it's dark. Um It's pretty spooky out there, but no, we just plan around the daylight. And then also out there, it's kind of like the beauty of living out there. You kind of just get to live how you want. So we wake up and we have coffee in bed, and we're like, well, I guess we'll get to trapping, and then we
Yeah.
go start the sleds, and we have good breakfast, and it's lovely. Yeah, it's not like, oh, we got to get out there and get this done, and it's not like working. You're just out there just being, and you don't have to think about
Yeah.
nothing but checking your traps.
So you got two sleds out there?
Oh heck, we got two old Bravos, I think from the 90s.
Yeah.
One newer Scandic to break trail.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no Wildland under the deck. I don't think it runs anymore, but I'd like to say it does. And I think there's a parts Bravo as well. There's sleds scattered all over the place. There's a couple trikes hidden in the shed I'd like to use and
Wow.
get. Yeah.
Yeah, because you definitely need to have a snowmobile.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely out there. Yeah, no, I ride around an old Bravo, and Lewis, my husband, rides around on a bigger Scandic, and I follow behind him in a nice little trail.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've got a little Expedition 550.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's a trail sled. Like it's not a mountain ripping sled type thing.
Mhm.
So getting back to wildland firefighting. So you got into there, and now you're involved with training as well. So tell us about your wildland fire experience.
It's been insane in all the best ways. It's the best job I've ever had. It's the most fun I've ever had. I've seen a lot of cool things. I think I do a lot of cool things. I've seen a lot of friends do a lot of cool things, and yet, I think it's also just getting dropped off in the middle of nowhere and just also enjoying being in the woods. I get to be in the woods all year long, and you can't really go wrong with that. But
Right.
um, I remember thinking just how perfectly it lines up with trapping. Like I learned a lot of really good skills, and I dabbled in chainsaw, but like now I'm pretty damn comfortable on it, and I can handle myself out in the trap line with it. And um I have to do that too, like because my husband flies, so he's like the emergency exit, right? So if I'm the one that has to do the dangerous stuff because he's the one that can fly me out of there. So he's not allowed to get hurt. But no, like fire has been, yeah, it's been incredible. I don't know what to say. I've got, like, great training in it, and um I kind of lost my train of thought there where I was going with that, but it's just the best job I've ever had. It's the most fun.
So what's been your most harrowing experience that you've had fighting fire so far?
I don't know if I really have like a harrowing experience. I've been pretty lucky, and like that, like fire's really good for keeping people safe. Like people in every place I've ever been to too, whether it's in the Yukon or Alberta or NWT, like safety is pretty first, and everyone does a really good job of planning the day and seeing what's going on with the fire, and making really good decisions. So I haven't really been in any situation where I was like, what the actual hell am I doing here? But I mean, there was like, I think one time we had to leave out of there a little early, and the fire was like roaring behind me, and you can start to hear it, like burn through the trees, but it wasn't anything super terrifying, which is nice. I don't know, and hopefully it stays that way. I don't want to.
Yeah. And are you on a IA crew, or what crew are you on?
I'm on a unit crew here.
Okay.
So Yukon First Stations Wildfire, there's currently two unit crews, so two packs of 20, and I'm on the Skookum unit crew. Yeah.
And so you guys go in, like you'll go in after IA and continue to work it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's more sustained action. So IA will go in there first and get some pretty good work done, and then we kind of follow up behind and start laying line and making it cold.
Right.
And depending on where you go to, like, we kind of do some. We're um depending on where you go, like Alberta is pretty much like that, pretty status quo that way. But in other places, you kind of are the IA, like you kind of get to do like dabble in some IA work, which is kind of good. The first
Yeah.
one's on the line, cutting line and laying hose, done.
And of course, there's always the annual physical test.
Yes, sir.
Is that's coming up, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. I gotta.
So,
I might.
so if anyone doesn't know, just tell us what the physical test is before you tell us the time.
Oh God. It's So it's a. How do I say this? It's a few different components. The first part of it is you have like a mock pump, like on like a backpack. So it's like the same weight as a pump. I can't remember the weight now, but it's freaking heavy as hell. And you put that on your back, and and there's a ramp. It's a straight line, so you kind of go up and down this line a few times, and you go up and down a ramp 4 times with a pump on your back, and then you take off the pump, and then you carry the pump around the ramp, and then you throw the pump on the table, and you put on a hose pack, which I think is about half my body weight, and throw the hose pack on, and that's like the most grueling part. That's where you kind of really have to not think about what you're doing and just do. So you go up and down the ramp, 25 laps of that. So you go up the ramp 50 times,
Wow.
and then you throw down the pump, or not the pump, the hose pack, and then
Yeah.
you do a hose pull. So you pull a it's gonna have to simulate a charged hose. So you pull that up and down twice, and it's freaking grueling. I just remember blacking out, and mostly everybody kind of just stops thinking halfway through the hose pack on the ramp, and you just kind of black out, and people are just yelling at you to finish, and you just kind of get it done. You have to get it done in by 17 minutes for unit crew, and then 14:30 for IA IA crews.
IA crews have to be faster, a little faster.
Yeah,
And
14
then
minutes.
the record is what, 9 minutes or 10
Something
minutes?
insane like that.
Yeah.
Like that's outrageous. There's no way. My best time was 15, and I felt pretty damn good there. But 9 minutes isn't like anything like under 12 is insanity.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. Yeah. Like DJ, my son there, he did it, and he did it for a couple of years, so he was training for it. Before he got on, when he first was, he was all nervous, and we'd set up all this stuff in the yard here, and tires and backpacks with weights, and I did it with him the one time. I tried it right just in our training room, and we just had this kind of hill that we could go up. It wasn't formal, but yeah, it was like, whew, boy, it was
It's
grueling.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
is. It's
every
very
year, no matter what. Every year, no matter what, you got to do it.
Yep, yeah, exactly. This year though, it's going to be a little different for me. Um I actually might take a break from fires, and I'll still be with YF&W here, but I'll be doing more work with like what Elise was doing.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's what a fires, and then I'm gonna kind of be upstairs and all around and help out with programs and
Logistics.
training. Yeah, yeah, and a little bit of everything down here. So I'll take a break from fires, which is heartbreaking actually. I knew it's something I need to do. I have some stuff with the family I have to deal with this summer. So I need to kind
Okay.
of have something I can take time. You can't really take time off in the summer. Once you're side on for fires, you're there until the end. And I think with managing a crew as well, it's hard to take time off. But so this summer I'll be spending more time in terrace if I can. And yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking. It's to not be on fires. I was looking at pictures last night, just like what, crying basically. But
Well, we call this the Human Forestry Podcast, and one of the reasons in it's was it I got the idea kind of from one of our team events, and one of our new instructors. We were all, we were interlocked over arms, saying like a kind of final goodbye, and he said he felt like a young tree in a forest of old growth, kind of thing. And I thought it just got me thinking about how trees like people live in communities and groups, and we have different ages and different types and different species. And I with your romantic cap on that you have, I wonder, have you ever thought about that, or mused about that, like, or could you see where there's an analogy of how a forest interacts, and you may even expand it into animals, but and how we can interact as people. And I really think there's lessons in nature of how we could better interact with one another.
oh man, I mean. I don't know. I don't know.
The
I
human
guess.
force, like you have like even I think of the crew there that we were working with last week. Like there's that's an interesting force of individuals as well.
Oh my God, actually, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's just it's a crazy group of guys I work with, and from all over the place too. And everyone has something to bring to the table. And you work really closely with these people too, and you live with them all summer. And I think too, I was telling my husband too, it's hard to like walk away from because you live with these people and like you bleed with these people and you sweat with these people and you like you suffer with these people in like all the best ways, and then to just like not be around them for a little while too, it hurts. But you kind of just become like a little fire family. But yeah, in a sense, like it's all kind of connected that way. Everyone, I don't know.
And what do you think about the whole forest fire thing? Like it's I find it interesting, because fire is a natural thing too. It's not like we call it fighting fire, but and there is we want to protect amenities, but like it's also a natural process, right? That we're kind of facilitating, right? And so that understanding because it's a kind of a loss of life in a sense, right? You have this devastation of sorts, but yet it really paves the way for so much change and new growth.
It's needed. It's I think up here too, we do a pretty good job at understanding that aspect of it. Like there's especially up in the north, where there isn't like a whole lot of infrastructure where we go. Like we do sometimes it's like let like this place does have to burn. Like it's okay like to let this section burn. Like this can burn off. It's fine because it hasn't burned in a long time and it'll help us in the future. So like there's less fires in the years to come if it's already burnt and you have like a bit of a barrier. And life after fire happens really, really fast. I remember a fire last year in NWT, and I was, working in the black, and then I think it was 2 days after a rain. It was there was already green, coming up through the black. It was like, and I remember, I don't know if you ever seen the Lion King. It was like I just had like a memory of the movie The Lion King in the very end where like he like takes his paw and like sweeps off the black there like after the fire after the lightning
Yeah.
strike, and there was like a green plant growing, and that's real. Like it happens really fast. But yeah, no, it's needed. Yeah.
Yeah, there's we do often training in after fires in locations, right? And like the next year kind of thing, and just what it is, it's a whole different landscape and environment, right? It's quite interesting
Mm-hmm.
with the
Mm-hmm.
burnt timber and the green and all the plants that you normally would never see in the forest are now there, and
Yep.
then there's succession to other species, and then
Yep.
there's like trees like certain pines like lodgepole with the cones that are serotinous. They without heat the cones don't open and they
Yeah.
don't grow even, right? Like
Yeah.
the trees can't even propagate without fire,
Yeah.
which is
Exactly.
interesting too. Yeah, it's fascinating. And is it really wildland firefighting? Is it wildland fire management? Because some of them call the groups that, right? They call it wildland fire management rather than fighting, right?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
And you guys are Yukon First Nations Wildfire.
Yes, sir.
Not, yeah, I don't, what, the number, did they say management or anything? They just say, that's all they say, wildfire. Just
Yep.
wildfire.
Yep. Yeah.
Tony, have you ever had any involvement with wildfire stuff?
No, other than doing the chainsaw training here and there.
Right.
Um, I had plenty of experience with dangerous jobs early in my life. I didn't need to
Right,
continue on.
right.
I did actually consider when I got out of the military doing the smoke jumper school because I was fully qualified, airborne qualified, but it didn't really work out. It wouldn't have been a good thing for me at that point in my life.
You may not be where you are today.
Well, would have ended up seriously hurt. I was at that point in my life. I didn't have a lot of risk boundaries around me. I'd have done anything. Just would have done it for just to say I could have done it was not a good point in my life. So it's probably not a good thing to put me in hazardous situations with that attitude.
And did you observe that? Was that a self-preservation thing, or did you just get lucky?
Yeah, yeah, I knew it. Yeah, I was well aware of it.
Okay, okay. Well, well, it's been an interesting chat. I find it, and I really like well, the whole thing, but you're putting people's memories to trees that you see is cool. I don't know that I mean, I have favorite trees. And there's one in our valley here that I walk by all the time. It was a big old aspen, and when I first moved here, it was fully intact, and it's declined somewhat, but the top blew out of it a few years ago, and then another section. But there's the lower one half, and it has a fully big live limb, and but it's quite a large trunk, like you say. We also don't have great big trees here necessarily, but every once in a while there's a little clump of some pretty good sized ones for the area, and this one's one of them. And it's out in the pasture, out in the valley, so there's no maintenance done. It's just got the top laying there, but it's I always think of it like tree bones. They're like the
Yeah.
bones are still there, and even after the tree, if it does fall or fail or burn, like the bones, the remnants are left, which is also a legacy of sorts. And I think if you'd have the capacity to give that pause and thought, like to what was there, what it
Mhm.
was, and it's still contributing. That's the other fascinating thing that I find is different. It becomes habitat and food or shelter or what for all kinds of things. And maybe it's for your own fireplace, or maybe it's
Mhm.
for a rabbit. They'll make homes in these brush piles and stuff, right? It's
Mhm.
it's really quite cool that it's something that a tree failure it could be viewed as that's too bad, that's sad, but for something else, it's good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. On the trap line, there's actually a tree that I remember. It's one of my favorite trees to pass by. And it's like can't remember what it was. But the top kind of snapped off, and it's sitting there like this. But there's a hollow right here, and I saw an owl in there one day. So
Yeah,
like yeah, so it's that's sweet.
yeah. Well, that's the other thing. When you'd be out there like that, I can't help but think. I know, like I live on a valley, and I don't live in the city. So, thanks to my dog, I get to walk it every day. I mean, I wouldn't have to, but he appreciates it. And so, you're out in the wilderness, so to speak, right? And just the things you observe and see that you really don't get to see. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, anytime you get where there's trees and plants and not so much the concrete or asphalt. You just observe things if you have the capacity to do so. It's pretty cool, and it is amazing to me how animals will make a home wherever.
Oh yeah, you see that everywhere. Sometimes it's your own cabin in the trap line, and you come back. They fully moved in.
Well, yeah, because you'll be months not there, so then you go back. Oh, that reminds me. I never had learned about this. Do you guys use bear boards there then?
Does he use what? Sorry,
The bear boards. I learned about bear boards up there. I hadn't heard of this before.
what's a
This on my
bear board?
last visit. They'll put spikes through boards and then lay them at the door in front of the window, so the bear will step on it and be like, "Whoa!" Like it
Yeah,
pokes them, and then they won't go near it. So, and it's like a whole sheet of plywood kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
With
I've
and
actually
then
seen
they,
it. So I've seen that in cabins in the BT where I was like firefighting.
yeah,
And I was like, that is a damn good idea. We have like all the windows and stuff boarded up and stuff like that, so it's pretty bear proof, hopefully. But I'm actually that's something I'm going to be doing. I'm actually going to put in bear boards next time I go out there because that's genius.
yeah, because you need pretty serious doors and window like coverings that could get because they'll if they can smell something in there, they're gonna try to get in there, right?
Oh yeah,
But
those smash windows for sure.
oh yeah, but the boards. It was Daniel Adamson, Dan Trapper Dan, that was telling me about him, and I just had never heard of him. I was like, wow, that sounds like a heck of an idea, and maybe not so great for the bear ones, but they're smart enough. They'd recognize it and be like, okay, can't step on that.
Yeah, yeah, I'll move on pretty quick. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, for us, Martin moved into our cabin last year. We showed up and it was a mess. I almost just left and never went back. But they had moved in and took over everything, and we had food in those action packers. those double walled action packers, they chewed through them and just
Really?
spread food and everywhere, and juice and hot chocolate powder and flour and everything.
Really?
Everything. Oh yeah, and they were vicious. They were growling at us to get out of the cabin because they had moved in. They lived there now, as far as they were concerned, and they were trying to break in the middle of the night and growling at us too. And like I remember like waking up and shining a flashlight, and like Martin was like clawing its way through like the insulation coming through the roof, and it was yeah. But it's worth it. It's fun. I don't know.
Well, they're like, this is our place now. Like, what are you guys doing here, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They were not happy.
Well, Martins are pretty smart too. They're like incredibly smart.
Yeah. Absolutely. They are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sort of like I don't know, like an overgrown squirrel. Well, a bit bigger than
Oh
that. Yeah, they're like a
yeah.
mink almost, kind of like, right?
Yeah, a little bigger than a mink. Yeah, they're like minks. They're like a ferret almost. They're a weasel. They're crafty little things. They're fast. They're crafty. They're mean. Yeah.
Wow. So and now been a bit of a stretch before you like since you've been there.
Yeah,
I
I think.
saw you when you thought about it, thinking, "Oh, I wonder what's gotten in the cabin now this year."
Yeah, I'm a little worried. It's part of it though. It's part of it, but hopefully it's still good. I'm hoping to go out maybe this summer if I can. If I'm not on fires, maybe I'll have the time to go out for a long weekend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But in fall as well. I like to go out in the fall. I like to go before the snow hits. I'd like to spend some time out there and take the trikes out and ride around and see it not covered in snow. And
Yeah, right,
yeah,
right. It would be a lot different, a lot different.
for sure.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well,
Yep.
thank you for taking time. And what a great story of and have actually having your climbing tree from a kid that you got a piece of it still with you today. So how many years have you had that piece of bark?
I'm not good at math, but I was in grade 5 when I left.
Wow.
So
When you're in grade like 30, 34 now?
I'm 34 now. Yeah, grade 34.
So at least like 30 years. Well, 20, yeah, 20 plus for sure.
Something for sure. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. And
Yeah.
thanks for sharing it with us, baby. We do share short video clips on our Instagram, Tree Actions Instagram. Maybe Tony, we can get a little shot of our piece of bark. It'd be kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Famous. Look at that. Little tree. Who would have thought? Famous little tree.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe one of our listeners will see it and know for sure what it is.
I'm gonna go back and find out. When I go back in May, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna let you know. I'll send you
I,
pictures.
I believe you. I believe you will, and it'll be good. Oh! I almost forgot. I almost forgot. I'm glad I didn't because we've started a new tradition in Tree Actions this year, and you may have heard us if you listen to the end of a couple other episodes that you listen to. But there's a book. It's called Tree Pithy Points,
Hmm.
and it's brief messages on tree biology, tree care, and philosophy. And it was written by Dr. Alex Shigo, who was a teacher and became a good friend of mine and mentor. He's passed away now, and it was just musings of his that he decided to put into a publication. He's not famous for this book, but he is famous for others. Modern Arboriculture and A New Tree Biology are his more prominent books. But this one, there's 950 of them, 950 pithy points. And he always said you're supposed to start at the back and go forward. But we finish each episode with our guest picking a number between 1 and 950. And
What?
we read that pithy point.
That's so cool. Okay, I love that. Okay.
So between
Now I'm
one, go ahead.
in 1 and 950.
Yeah, you got between 1 and 950.
How many people have done this so far? Like what are the odds?
Oh,
Like the
well,
odds of it?
we've only, but this year we've only had 5 or 6 so far, right, Tony? Or
Yeah,
Like,
something like that. Everyone usually picks a lower number. Not too many people's favorite number is like 935.
Yeah.
yeah,
So then,
yeah, and it doesn't have to be a favorite number. It's just a number. But a lot of people will pick their yeah.
Yeah, when you ask someone to pick a number, they go with a number they're familiar with. Right?
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna keep it romanticized here. I'm gonna go with in honor of my grandma here. Her birthday is May 17th, so let's go 17.
Okay, 17. Here we go. Tree Pithy Point, number 17. The symplast is a highly ordered three-dimensional connection of living protoplasm in trees. The symplast is a highly ordered three-dimensional connection of living protoplasm in trees. It's more commonly known as sapwood. So, when you cut through a tree and you see the two colors of wood, you see a
Yep.
darker colored center and a lighter color outer. So the inner darker colored center is known as heartwood or apoplast. And the whiter wood on the outside, which is better hinge wood and more flexible wood, and actually living wood, and that's known as symplast. And here he's given is what symplast is. So three-dimensional connection of living protoplasm. He would always simply describe symplast as the living
Oh,
wood.
interesting. And what's this? Sorry, can you show me the book again? Actually, can I find this book somewhere?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Tree.
Tree Pithy Point. You can get it on from Shigo Trees and Associates. I'll
Yeah,
send you a
please.
link, and you can order it from his daughter. Still sells all his books, and they're really good. Now, one thing we have started doing when people pick was it the low number? If it's under,
Well, if we're going to stick with your grandma's birthday, you could go with 517, right? May 17th.
oh yeah. So oh yeah, 5. Okay, good plan.
I'm just here for the math.
But the other interesting thing is that there is so the reason I should explain myself. Sorry, there are also color plates, and they're numbered separately. And 17 is a colored plate as well. So you get a bonus if you pick a number that has a colored plate. Oh, sorry, I'll show it to you. That's the picture,
Cool.
and here's what it is. This is Pithy Point picture plate 17. This mycorrhiza was growing during winter in brown rotted wood of an old white pine stump. As the figure in Dahlem reminds us to see and touch, we must pursue the wonders of nature when it may not be comfortable for us. Pithy Point, number 17. Picture plate 17. And Tony, you suggested 5. And the reason I didn't read it, is because we read that one with another guest recently. Yeah, I remember it because, and that's the only reason
No,
why
that's fine.
I didn't take your advice, and I apologize for doing that. But I didn't just ignore you, but I did. But I'm explaining why. But really cool. 17. So what this is, can you see that?
Yeah.
And I know, sorry, our listeners that aren't watching or only listening, but you see that white looking tree like structure? That would be probably maybe a centimeter or so in height or size. And that's growing out of the brown rod of a pine. And so that's mycorrhiza, which is a specialized root. It's a fungus root that is growing in there, and it's allowing the pine to get nutrients that it ordinarily wouldn't be able to get from that environment. And in exchange, it's giving the fungus that's infected that root carbohydrates.
Oh, wow.
So it's a mycorrhiza growing during the winter, which is also interesting. So because a lot of things happen in the winter that like, there's still growth happening in a brown rotted wood of an old white pine stump. As the figure in the Dahlem reminds us to see and touch, we must pursue the wonders of nature when it may not be comfortable for
Mhm.
us. Now, Tony, being a philosopher that you are, Dahlem, as the figure in Dahlem reminds us. Now, I'm not. I don't. Like, so there's more to this than I don't know what that means, and I'm sure it references something. But what is
I'm
Dahlem?
not sure. Let's look it up. How do you spell it?
Dahlem, as the figure in Dahlem reminds us to see and
I have
touch.
a feeling it refers to it's a city in Germany.
I think
It
so.
is a city in Germany, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know.
So probably he has a picture in this book from Dahlem that reminds us something. Because, by the way, his slogan, Rachel, was "Touch trees."
Amazing.
Shigo always said you have to touch
You
trees,
absolutely everyone
and
should
so
be
that
touching trees. That's what's wrong with the people these days. Like the world today, not enough people are touching trees anymore.
yeah. Well, I think there's a lot to be said for it. There's a real. I mean that's true connection, and Shigo was always big about that. Like we really can't connect with anything fully. You're not truly in connection if you're not touching. It's just not.
Absolutely.
And whether and so when he would do his tree biology training, he would always do dissections, and everyone would get a microscope, and you were touching the wood and working
Amazing.
with it.
It reminds me too is
Yeah.
something I probably should have touched on earlier, but if we're out of time, but I guess I should have talked.
Oh yeah, no, no, no,
I should
no.
have
Go
talked
ahead.
about it reminded me of a medicine, and I guess like the walks with my grandma, she taught me a lot of medicine
Yeah,
um and it's one thing I think I'll miss. Well, I'll miss everything the most, but I will really miss like her teachings in that sense, um and yeah, just like all the knowledge. It's funny, yeah, like it's a lot of knowledge and learning and history that just kind of just goes away. And but I remember my brother always got ear infections, and she went out and got this tree fungus. I don't even know what one. I think a diamond willow from a diamond willow, and
uh huh.
I think so. Nobody do this because I'm not sure yet, but it's it's a fungus from a tree. But she had boiled it and put it in
Yeah,
his ear, and he hadn't had an ear infection since. So, and
yeah. Well, there is. I'm not sure which one. Like chaga grows on birch, and that would definitely it's immunity, and that one would definitely
yeah,
be good for that. I don't know if it grows in diamond willow or not, but it might. But there's all sorts of stuff. One of our guests in one of his episodes, well, I don't know if it was in his episode, but he talked about it after. He said, "Dwayne, this Tree Action podcast is great." He said, when an old, you're getting people to tell their stories and you're recording them, and he said, it's important because when an old person dies, the library burns
that's
down.
so. I love that. It's true. And what was the who was it too in our course? He said knowledge. One of the,
Yeah, knowledge shared is
yeah,
knowledge not
exactly. And
lost.
then yeah, I love that. It's true. Important.
It is. It is. That was Devin. Yeah, I thought that was a really good statement, right? And it's interesting because it's kind of got a negative in there, like the way it's said. You got
Mm-hmm.
to think about it. Knowledge not shared, knowledge shared is knowledge
Mm-hmm.
not lost. And stories are the best way to communicate that. Um, yeah, well, I'm glad that you thought of another story of your grandma. That's really cool. And I would absolutely. I got to figure out. I don't know why I'm fascinated about this birch bark
The
bouquet.
cedar, the
Was it
cedar,
birch bark?
cedar bark. Yeah,
Cedar
yeah, the
bark
cedar
bouquet.
roses. Yeah.
Cedar roses. That's just that's
If
fascinating to
you
me.
well, you're going to the island soon,
Huh.
though. Yeah, Vancouver Island for you just waiting.
Yeah, yeah,
I bet you they're down there
yeah,
somewhere too. I mean, anywhere there's could be stuff
yeah.
like
I'll be
that
able
for sure.
Awesome. Well, that was a great wrap up, and I will send you a link for Pithy Points. In fact, we should probably